What is a monster, not a monster? Tonight we're talking about those classic threats known as oozes, cubes, and puddings, starting with the gray ooze, which we're going off of Shadowdark here. There's as you can see, we have the whole bookshelf full of D&D books too, but we're going to lean into the Shadowdark one right now. I'm going to start with gray ooze because I just threw this at my players. The book refers to them as slick puddles, the color of stone. They're a level 2 monsters, so they're not going to immediately kill your players. Well, maybe your first level characters. So it dissolves metal. So using swords, spears, and other metal weapons against it is risky. And if it's able to engulf one of your characters, it's going to destroy their armor. This is going to break and destroy their stuff. And in my game, I had a gray ooze lurking in a cave, appearing to be part of the floor. I foreshadowed the appearance of the ooze by having it lash out a pseudopod and try and snag one of the PC's allies. And then in the game, it turned out that the ooze went down pretty quickly because the PCs had befriended cultists of the Rat King and convinced them via a charm spell that they were also servants of the Rat King. So I don't know that I got a good kicking tires evaluation of the lethality of a gray ooze because they just piled up.
In terms of gray ooze, it's one of those, a little bit of those gotcha monsters. You could foreshadow things a little bit, but I would say, that the floor looks wet ahead, like there's a puddle there or something on the stone. And that might get people to look closer. But if they, if you're just saying parts of the corridor look wet and they just walk down and they walk through it, I would say, that's when the tentacle grabs their ankle. But if they're getting their face up close to it, also, I could say that's when the tentacle comes and tries to grab their face too. Oozes have a -4 intelligence modifier and a -3 wisdom modifier. So they're reactive. They're not real smart at all. It seems like, and I'm reading into a lot of this, but the fact that it corrodes metal sounds like that's its digestion. Like it's eating the metal and that's what helps it grow.
Right. Well, it's like rust monsters. Not an ooze.
You might even be able to have people just walk across it if they don't have any substantial metal armor or substantial metal
like that.
Weapons or things like that. If you have leather boots, you can walk across it. But as soon as you start walking across in, plate armor or have a significant like chainmail or a breastplate or giant two-handed sword out, that's when things go wrong.
Yeah. Ooze needs metal badly. So
yeah.
They're clearly lurking creatures. This was for my lunchtime game, and so I think I needed to punch up the action. I wanted to have the reveal of the pseudopod striking out from the shadows, and then like, what the heck was that? And then we had a debate over what the heck was a pseudopod, because one of my players had never heard of a pseudopod before. So then we had a nice little digression into what a pseudopod is. Think of it as a tentacle, folks. Yes. But in any case, I think they're good lurking creatures. I like what you're talking about, just setting up the ambush, right? You could also, there's no reason why they can't, be also just lurking in the ceiling, right? And so that the glistening ceiling, and then they just drop. I was looking up the black pudding, which we're going to get to later in 5e, has the spider climb ability, so it can climb up onto things. So I think it's entirely reasonable that an ooze would be able to secrete its way up amongst the stalactites.
Yeah.
And perhaps drop down and do some damage that way.
It does say slick puddles, the color of stone. However, so that tells me that it's most of the time going to be on the floor. But again, your game, your way to play, as long as it's consistent and the players can figure this stuff out. But I will say that there are plenty of things that drop on your head in Shadowdark.
Well, this is true. I like the idea, actually, of the ooze sort of like raining down droplets of ooze to coalesce on the floor into puddles and then rise up Terminator 2-like.
Yeah. Or big, thick, squishy, thwops on the floor.
Yes.
And,
like, quack, quack.
Yeah. It's like, what the heck is that? And then they realize that those things are moving and coalescing again. It's a warning, not a, since they're not smart, I don't know that they would, know when to drop is the is the other part.
Yeah, I think that's where you have like the approaching torchlight.
That's
and
true.
They start raining down outside of the torchlight, so by the time the PCs actually see it, if they continue to push forward.
Yeah, so you could have it, you could hear it
together.
Maybe first if you wanted to do it that way.
Yeah, because I like the sounds and the sounds and smells of the dungeon or something that occasionally, like especially smells.
Yeah.
But like
one of the modules I ran recently, the one I did the scratch off dungeon map with, there is an undead owlbear. You start smelling the different smells that an undead and an owlbear mixed together would be as a foreshadowing about what they're going to have. About what
That's
they're going to,
awful.
Come into. Yeah, it smelled bad.
So speaking of things that smell bad, next up is the Zomblob.
Zomblob. Yep.
The description of this thing is a sickly purple carpet of rolling sludge. Eyeballs, organs, and partially dissolved bones bubble up before being reabsorbed. So basically, it's a zombie ooze that regenerates every round. This thing is only level 3. I feel like the regeneration should maybe kick it up a little bit there, but it's more of a guideline.
Anything zombie that can just get back up is a whole other thing. If at 1 hit points or higher, it regains a D4 hit points at the start of every turn. The regeneration is nasty, and it's relentless. If it goes down from a non-magical source, if it does a DC 9 con check, it goes to 1 hit points instead. And it has a +1 to its con roll. So it needs an 8 or better on a D20.
The setup I was thinking about, the players are summoned by the city guard to deal with an undead infestation in the town's catacombs. But when they get there, the catacombs are just silent. And there's no sign of the undead or the dead because all the corpses are missing.
Yeah.
And as they venture deeper in, like, you could just have more, like, there's no rats, there's no moths, and then the ooze just appears. I can imagine just a running fight trying to escape from this thing. Because I fighting it I don't know, my characters are, I think, level 2. I think this thing would be quite the challenge for them.
Yeah, what's interesting about how they describe the Zomblob is it's oozes that absorb too much necrotic matter are most prone to this baleful transformation. So this was some other ooze that became the Zomblob. And so either it was a gray ooze and then it actually gets a little bit worse because gray ooze, or no, that actually gets a little better because it's level 3. And the gray ooze is level 2. It's the black pudding and stuff that is level 6. Yeah, so it gets a little bit worse if you leave it behind or feed it a bunch of skeletons and other things like that.
So you're thinking like the black pudding is gone amok. It's infused by necrotic damage, becoming a zombie blob. It was actually weaker, at least technically speaking, than a black pudding, but it's still monstrous and horrible.
But yeah, like so there's plenty of other oozes that we're gonna get to tonight. Then there are more than our D6 version of our oozes. So we might have some more on this.
Yeah, we might. And I accept full blame for this one because I'm doing my deep crawl dungeon for my lunchtime game, and I just became infatuated with oozes. Because they're such classic monsters, and when you're venturing underground in caverns and stuff, it's just the prime environment for those things. So it led me to just completely geek out on oozes and cubes. Oh wait, cube. So we have the Gelatinous Cube.
Yep.
Which is a level 5 monster, and I don't have the description in front of me right now, but I think it's basically a big gelatinous cube, usually with things floating inside of it.
Usually it's clear, and then you can see what's inside. There is the module same module actually, with the smelly undead owlbear. It was Tomb of the Dusk Queen. Also has a gelatinous cube in it. And I had it where as it came into the torchlight, they didn't see the cube. What they saw was a skeleton kind of floating toward them, a sword nearby its hand. And unfortunately, I was trying to portray that maybe this was kind of like an undead that was flowing toward them. But they immediately went, "Oh, that's a gelatinous cube," and went and avoided it. So, but yeah, it's that was a fun one though. You had an even better one.
Yeah, so my plan was, and I didn't get them to do this, but maybe if I rerun this at Mepicon, maybe I'll get people to fall for it. But I had a skeleton floating up a vertical shaft in a dungeon, just surrounded by a halo of daggers and coins. And so just kind of like that it would be this telekinetic monster just slowly rising towards them with baleful eyes turned up. But they didn't go down the tunnel because I wanted them to get trapped as they were climbing down with the gelatinous cube coming up, not realizing it was the gelatinous cube. The classic is always having a skeleton in it, right? That trope has been played out a whole bunch of times. So to get creative with them, you might have to put other things inside of your gelatinous cube to make it not obviously a gelatinous cube.
Yeah, and I think that may actually be a little bit. That and the holiday season is what led to our next monster, which is the Cran Gelatinous Cube, which is another.
To be clear, I hate cranberry sauce. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. I dislike it on a fundamental level.
Oh, I really like it.
This is even worse.
And yeah, this was another monthly monster. I think came out last year. I think around Christmas time. And the description of it is, in the darkest bogs and chilliest swamps, a blood-red cube slurps along the muddy earth. Glistening cranberry juice beads from its sides, and leathery corpses swirl around within its towering bulk. So this is an outdoor monster that has
technically
seems to have literally sucked up cranberries from a cranberry bog.
Yes, yes, and zombies.
Yes, I was getting to that. Yeah, it's let me see. As you get close to it, there are peat zombies that have been sucked up from the bog. The cube expels 2d4 allied zombies at the start of combat. So it can hold up to 8 people, evidently. It is a level 9 thing. Gelatinous Cube is only level 5 comparatively. But yeah, it has the engulf, it has rubbery, and it does not have toxin, which the Gelatinous Cube does, but it does have dissolve. So the toxin in Gelatinous Cube, DC 15 con or be paralyzed for a D4 rounds, in which case you can be taking a D8 damage or so every round. But dissolve is living creatures inside the cube take a D12 damage on the cube's turn. So it does more damage. I guess the cranberry juice makes it a little more acidic.
Yeah, it's just so wretched,
And the other ability that it has, it's a defensive ability. The first time the cube takes damage each round, all enemies in close have to make a DC 12 con save or be blinded until the end of their turn. Because it's juicy.
It's a juicy cube.
Yes.
So this is pretty fantastic. With my gelatinous cube, the PCs, they ended up not going down the corridor, and I was impatient. So I just had it rise up for the moment of horror as they see the skeleton. And they were scared. And so they rolled a barrel at the skeleton to try and distract it as they ran away. And then it just kind of bounced off the squishy side of the gelatinous cube. And then they were even more scared because they're like, okay, we need to get out of here. So they ran.
Nice.
I think the Cran gelatinous cube, I think of 2 things. So I immediately went to the sewers. I'm assuming, if you have a town next to a marsh, I think you could come up with a reason for why this thing would be in the sewers.
Oh yeah, it would just comes in the outflow of the sewer from the bog into the sewer system.
Just, nutrients, right? But so I'm thinking like a nice setup because, we'll go with the holiday edge, it's the night before Christmas or your equivalent fantasy holiday in your campaign setting, and a contingent of sewermen, guild members have gone missing. One of their children begs the PCs to save their missing parents so you can lean into the, was it Tiny Tim? And then they go venturing into the sewers, come across strange caustic puddles of fermenting red liquid. Yeah. I love the idea that you could make the cranberry sauce sinister.
Yeah.
And then zombies soaked in the stuff show up, and then somewhere there's a mad wizard searching for his favorite monstrous side dish.
If you have had cranberry sauce in the modern day, it is probably the gelled version that comes from a can. I can see that being part of an inspiration for it because it just kind of slurps out and it just retains its cylindrical shape.
I think it would be hilarious to use that at your table.
Yeah. Oh, plop it on the map. That would be kind of funny.
Maybe not
messy.
Directly on the map.
Messy. Well, if you have a Chessex mat that's water resistant, that would be okay. But
Another more conventional approach would be the PCs are going out into the bog looking for those cranberry fixins for the holiday, or mushrooms, or whatever else you need for your side dishes, and then they come across this horror. But it's pretty tough for a random encounter at level 9. So
yeah, I would design the encounter around this monster. I wouldn't have it be random.
Yes. I don't think they should just come across it.
Yeah,
because hey,
although
look, guys,
if you are truly living by sandbox OSR, there are places that PCs should not go that are over leveled for them. So it's possible.
love the idea that the cranberry cube, the Cran Gelatinous Cube, is the major threat that haunts the bog.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe a little silly, but I think you could play it serious too. It could become its own legend. So next up, well, if you got cranberries and cranberry sauce, you probably need some pudding, black pudding. Book describes this as a black ice cold mass of sludge. And it's monster level 6. It dissolves wood and metal, so it is a double threat to PC weapons and armor. So run away. I like the idea of this thing being attracted to heat. And because I'm running a northern campaign, I'm doing like a alternative reality Norse campaign. I like the idea of them having to take refuge in an ice cave or some other just frigid cave. And the pudding is just lurking in the back. And then Predator-like, it can see the heat. And at some point, it slowly starts moving towards them because it's a frozen pudding. And then at some point during the night, it tries to take out one of the PCs.
Yeah, I think I've heard of it being described as seeking out heat before as well. Can't remember where I heard it, although I could grab my first edition DVD.
I'm sure there's so much ecologies of. There's probably a Dragon magazine that has the ecology of the black pudding, but these things are dangerous. They're impervious, only damaged by fire, right? So
yeah,
you're gonna need all the fire.
yeah. The black pudding in the first edition monster manual is quite a bit longer than the description in Shadowdark. It eats wood to obtain food. It can eat away about 2 inches thickness of wood in an equal area to its 1 diameter in 1 melee round. So it eats fast and it eats metal. In first edition, the more hit points, the more hit dice that a black pudding has, the bigger they are.
Yes, and so traditionally they also split when hit by lightning and slashing attacks. I know that's what it's in 5th edition now. I'm not sure what it was back in first edition.
Skimming through it. Same is true if it's attacked by lightning. Cold does not affect it. Wait, hold on. If chopped or struck, the monster is broken. So black pudding, if it's chopped or struck, it does split automatically, and same for lightning. So like all of those things.
Now Shadowdark does not explicitly call that out.
If you wanted to make the black pudding even worse, I would up its approximate monster level. I would probably give it a few more hit points maybe, and then allow it to split every time you
yes.
And split the hit points between the others. It also kind of fits with the trying to remember the different JRPGs that had black puddings or puddings that would split, and then you have to kill one or the other. And,
oh yes,
yeah.
So yeah, definitely.
This definitely inspired those.
So segueing into a different kind of ooze, and perhaps a bit of controversy, we have the Heal Cube. So this is part of a 3-pack of Monster of the Month that it was a feature called Ooze Cubes. And so it had the Heal Cube, the Magnetic Cube, and the Necrotic Cube. We're going to focus on the Heal Cube. So this is, again, a level 5 monster. It will engulf its prey, but instead of killing it, it heals 1 hit point per round, but you treat the person as though they're underwater. So presumably there's a chance that you could drown if you don't do this right.
But you get better. Every round you're in it, because you have to be in the cube, but you have to be holding your breath and hope that your friends can get you out, maybe.
Yeah. Or it's, back to tank from Star Wars, right? Like, yeah. I just envisioned Luke floating in the tank.
Yeah.
When I thought of this monster.
That's true. Although the Heal Cube is a faint pink color. Plump mice and centipedes drift around inside.
Because they healed and then they died.
Yes. Yes.
I had a thought on this. So, Noble Healing Chamber. So, the town's local noble acquired a Heal Cube as a hedge against death. the PCs come across it during a night of carousing that ends at the noble estate. There's at least one carousing alternative that ends up with you being in a noble's state. And clearly the noble is using it to keep him alive. Like, you know, you could be like, you know, you could work in like, oh, he seems to get sickly at the end of the day, but then he's spry in the morning, right? I also just love the idea of them just stumbling across this bizarre weirdness.
Yeah. And actually, playing off on that, you know, like if the noble gets sick at the end of every day and then uses the heal cube to be better, maybe there's some sort of curse or some sort of poison that's injuring them, and they have to use the heal cube. So either you could take it as a kind of a sinister thing, or hey, what the heck is this? Oops, we just killed your heal cube. Sorry. Maybe it starts with, oops, we just killed your heal cube. Sorry. But then they find out that the noble will die without magical healing every single day of some sort. And that's what the heal cube was giving them. And now you have to go out and find out how to remove this curse or help this person.
There's also the question of what's been feeding the heal cube.
Yeah.
If normally they're dissolving things, right? That's how they're eating. Is it sucking away the necrotic damage? Like, or do you have to make some sort of terrible sacrifice? I guess I'm going down the dark path. I like the idea that the PCs stumble across the heal cube.
Yeah.
They kill it without realizing what it is because it's a cube.
Yeah.
And then there's this whole other plot of you just like offed the most important person in town because he's slowly dying and everybody loves him.
The one thing that we kind of skipped over is the ooze cubes. The three that are listed here, that we're only going over the heal cube, but these are all gelatinous cubes that have mutated to become regenerative in this case. And so this was a gelatinous cube. Something happened to it, and now it is a heal cube. So it got to the size that it was by dissolving things maybe and growing that way, but who knows what it feeds on now.
Right.
I don't know. Maybe it's it heals you to the best of your ability, but then it, you know, due to some magical mutation is feeding on the soul that comes out when you actually drown in it.
Yeah, kind of going this. Oh, yeah, that would work. I also think of Stargate, right, and the rejuvenation devices that the Goa'uld have, and I think there's a lot of actual like fun little role playing hooks that you could get out of the heal cube. However, it also sparks a bit of controversy, perhaps, because the description is a massive cube of clear slime with a faint pink color. So, are slimes oozes?
It does say it is a cube of slime in there. The heal cube and the gelatinous cube are both slimes, but are they oozes? What is the difference between a slime and an ooze?
And a pudding.
And then you get puddings, and then you get molds.
And jellies.
What is the definition of those? You know, what is the difference? Because in the ooze cubes thing, one of the others is it says it's a cube of clear jelly. So are jellies slimes? Yes,
and what distinguishes a jelly from a pudding and what have you, right? And where does green slime fall in all of it?
Right.
Is it just a dungeon hazard, as is the case in 5th edition now? Is it a monster? Is it a threat? Is it part of the ooze family? These questions and more we will answer in another episode.
And I can tell you I am very disappointed that I have not seen green slime in Shadowdark yet.
Yeah, we've been hunting for it, but we have not been able to find green slime. So if anyone has found the green slime in Shadowdark, we would love to hear about it. Thanks for joining us for our conversation about various forms of icky oozes. We love feedback. You can leave it for us on this episode over on YouTube, or you can visit us for all of our content at lairofsecrets.com.